How's it going, everyone? Got yet another update on Granblue Fantasy Relink, a game that so many of you, and myself included, are excited for. We have an update on how lengthy the game will be, and some other details as a brand new trailer did just go up, the official Boss Battles gameplay trailer. We'll talk about that. Now, before we get into this video, I just want to ask you guys, please like this video and do leave a comment with your thoughts. It really does help out the channel a lot, and it is much appreciated. WCCF Tech does have an in-depth interview regarding a Granblue Fantasy Relink with Side Games America, and there's a lot of information that did come out. But I do want to specifically note one excerpt. You've talked about the number of quests there are in Granblue Fantasy Relink, but can you talk about how long the story mode is in terms of hours or chapters? Side Games noted to complete the main story, we estimate that it'll take a player between 20 and 25 hours from start to credits. There is an additional post-game sequence that will bring that time up to about 30 to 35 hours for players who want to get more out of the game and grind that content a little bit more. That can stretch anywhere up to 100 hours or more, but for the main game, that'll take about 20 hours. Specifically, as far as difficulty, it was noted it's not that each quest has its own difficulty level, but rather quests are split up by their difficulty levels. That 100-hour figure that I gave you earlier includes if you play through all of the hardest quests. So there you go with that. The main story of Granblue Fantasy Relink is not going to be super lengthy, and the fact that it's noted 20 to 25 hours, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I see these numbers that publishers and developers will give out about how lengthy a game is, and it seems like most people are completing it maybe 15 to 20% quicker than the number that's usually given out. That's what I've always noticed. Don't take my word for it. That's just how I feel. But considering they know 20 to 25 hours, let's just take it to 18 to 23 hours. That's a fine length, but for a JRPG, that is a little bit on the shorter side. And even if you want to look at the 20 to 25 hour number, a little bit on the shorter side if you do rush through the main story. Now, obviously, this game is going to be more well-developed in the sense of there's going to be a lot of optional content. Multiplayer is a thing in this game. There's going to be a ton of replayability and updates that are going to come to the game post-game. So even though it is noted to be 20 to 25 hours for the main story, that might push some people away, but for me, I'm just like, yo, not every game has to be north of 50 to 80 hours for the main story. They are also saying that if you want to do all the content, it could be over 100 hours, and post-game a sequence that's going to take it to 30 to 35, and 30 to 35, totally fine with that for the length of a JRPG, especially with all the bonus content. So I don't think the length is anything to be too worried about. I think people will hyper-focus on that 20 to 25 hour number and get a little bit worried, but you know, these days I'm more about a story that's all killer, less filler, and we'll see how the actual narrative does turn out in this game, but I think it's going to end up being pretty well. But I think gameplay is the standout element for a lot of people, and it does look like an incredibly slick action RPG, so excited about that. Remember that if you do buy Granblue Fantasy Relink digitally, you do get early access to the game on January 29th. Physical copies, which I know a lot of people are gonna want to buy the game physically, that'll be dropping on February the 1st, and why I make note of that is our audience, a lot of you guys are big Japanese RPG fans, and there's a little game called Persona 3 Reload that comes out in the same week. I'll be picking up both, but I know for most people it's gonna be a little bit difficult to juggle both titles. Like, that's just gonna be the reality, and I do think the fact that both of these games are coming out in the same week, it's gonna hinder the sales of both games. There are gonna be people that if Granblue Fantasy came out in a week all to its own, would have picked it up, but they got P3R. And the inverse is true as well. That's just something you're not gonna escape, especially in the case of Persona 3, long-lasting franchise. People have so much nostalgia, and Granblue, a new JRPG that so many people have been looking forward to. Personally speaking, I am more excited for Granblue Relink. Like, that is just the reality of my excitement level. It's a new game. It's one that I've been following for a while, and you know, I'm just excited for it to finally come out. P3R is obviously going to be great. Like, we know that game's going to be really good, but Granblue, I feel like the allure of the mystery in terms of how good is this game going to be, or even if it's good, I think it's going to be very good, but we don't know exactly what to expect out of Granblue Relink. There's a lot of extra information out of the WCCF Tech interview, so I highly recommend it, specifically higher difficulty quest insight, power level insight, assist modes, etc., etc., and there's been a lot of information coming out about the game. It will be priced at $59.99. And early adopters of Granblue Fantasy Relink will gain an exclusive DLC outfit, in addition to the choice between the Eternal's Transcendence or Evoker's Domain sets, and you can also purchase the other title to get the Inverse as well. So very excited for that, and one of the big releases of early 2024. But speaking of Granblue, the Granblue Fantasy Relink also got its official boss battles gameplay trailer, so if you want some insight on some of the bigger battles you'll be having throughout the game, you'll get exactly that with the boss battles trailer. Some big battles await you, and it's going to be quite exhilarating to go through all of those. Granblue Fantasy takes place in the Sky Realm, a world where myriad islands float in the Great Blue Expanse. Take your role as a captain of Skyfaring crew, joined by the scrappy little dragon named Vern and a young girl with mysterious powers. Together, you'll sail with a colorful cast of crewmates, including kings and misfits alike, for a fabled island beyond the end of the sky. So, the game will be coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC. Remember, the digital release will be January 29th, and then the physical release will be February the 1st. There is a deluxe edition, and I assume that Granblue Fantasy Relink is the type of game a lot of you guys are going to end up wanting to get the physical copy of. You're just gonna have to wait a few days, and why I make note of that is that those extra few days, if you are excited for P3R, that'll give you a little bit of leeway to try to get as much done in Granblue Relink before P3R comes out, but still, it's just a couple of days. Like, how much of a dent are you really gonna put in? For some people, that's gonna be enough to go through the entirety of the game and you'll be good to go. But, yeah, for most people, I think it's still going to be an issue of the games coming out so near each other. But it's a good time to be a JRPG fan, man, and we're going to talk a lot more about it. But there's a lot of compelling Japanese RPGs that are going to be dropping in with Granblue. See if a couple of friends are picking up, because the game will feature 4-player cooperative play, and with the co-op mode, you'll have over 100 quests to play through, and you're looking at a lot of replayable endgame content. So this is a game that, outside of that main story, 20 to 25 hours, and I'm fingers crossed hoping that the narrative actually turns out well, but this game does have an emphasis on its multiplayer component and all of that additional content that's surrounding the main narrative. This is the first really big Granblue title. I know we've had Granblue Versus, and that's been received well. Rising just came out. That's been received really well, but as far as a main JRPG and a big JRPG, this is really the game that could potentially take the franchise to another level over here in the States. We'll ultimately see how it turns out, and it's obviously a game that I've been talking a lot about, because you know what, when you've been following a game for damn near 7 years, and maybe even longer than that, and it's finally about to be released, it is exciting when we are inching closer and closer to that release. But really, the first major anime-oriented JRPG of the year, like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, is also coming out the week prior to this game. So it's just like a complete disaster if you're into that game as well. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Granblue, and P3 are back to back to back. Yeah, pack a lunch. Good luck with that one. But yeah, that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Let me know your excitement level for Granblue. And again, when you look at Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, throw that in there as well, because there's going to be crossover there with Granblue and P3R. But you're talking Like a Dragon into Granblue, into P3R, into FF7 Rebirth a few weeks after that. Just absolute insanity. I don't know if I've ever seen a stretch of a couple of weeks with that many major JRPGs all coming out at once. But yeah, that'll do it for me. Again, your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.